Hey everybody, in this episode of John's Briefs, we're back with Terry. We're in a different location. We're in San Diego doing a Survive the Fight tour this weekend with Firearms Legal Protection, and Terry agreed to sit down. Let's talk a little bit more. A couple people had an interesting discussion, a little bit of a concern about calling and hanging up on 911 rather than staying on the line with 911. Now let's take a minute and let's talk about what this means.
Today's video is brought to us by the generosity of Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners. You win the fight, and they will help you win the fight after the fight for the rest of your life. There's a link in the description for a coupon code for a discount for all active self-protection watchers.
So Terry, in particular, a couple of my law enforcement friends that I really respect were worried about the law enforcement response if you hang up on 911, because in their world that brings ambushes and it brings the cops amped up to the nth degree, worried about you ambushing them when they come in. So I just want to know, if somebody says, look man, I'm not hanging up on 911 because I don't think that's great advice. Okay, fine, remember it's your self-defense call.
Exactly.
So if they choose to stay on the line instead, what do you think the best course is?
The best course is to say and do nothing. And the reason I say that, again, this is something most people never train for. When the police arrive, yes, they are going to, no matter what the situation, even if you say, hey, listen, I just had to use self-defense, etc., that's not going to lessen the fact that the police are going to feel ambushed or I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for.
They're definitely going to feel threatened, because guess what? We've said, hey, someone's been shot, right? So there's been a deadly force encounter here.
Correct.
Cops are showing up loaded for bear, and they are showing up expecting a fight.
Correct. And nothing's going to change that. Once you use the term gunshot, shots fired, or anything along those lines, it is a defensive situation for police. But again, I want to make sure your audience is aware of something. My advice is not anti-police. I have nothing but absolute respect for law enforcement.
Sure.
It's a very difficult job that they do. This advice is more pro-you, not necessarily anti-police. And what do I mean by that? My concern is for the rights of you as someone who's just used lethal force to defend yourself. The police are going to come, and if once they get there, they're on their job. I'm expecting the worst case scenario. I don't know if there's another guy outside. I don't know if someone's running down the street. I don't know what's going. My job is to get them there as quick as possible with as little, and I say this purposely, as little information, because again, the more I talk, the more opportunity I have to destroy my case and put myself in a very bad light.
So one of the challenges that we see that I know we've talked about is you get this thing called logorrhea. It's literally diarrhea of the mouth. You know.
Correct.
That you in order to process what's going on in your head, that you don't fully recognize having what happened. You're just going to talk, and sometimes you're going to say things that aren't the truth, but that you're just processing in your mind. And when that's recorded, remember in your Miranda rights, right, that anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. But notice that what you don't say
Never helps you.
What you don't say cannot be held against you in a court of law. So
Correct.
It's a double-edged sword here that you got to really pay attention to. So if somebody decides, no, I'm going to stay on the phone with 911, your recommendation is leave the line open and don't talk.
Yes, and be careful of what you say. Some people have the belief, hey, leave it open, let it just roll, whatever happens, happens. But what if I have my gun and the other person says, hey, don't shoot, I don't have a gun, and you end up discharging your firearm, and there is a gun there all of a sudden, right? What happens at that point? Is that something that you planted? I mean, because again, clearly the other person said, I don't have a gun.
Right.
You know, there is no definite bright line rule here. You have to do what you feel comfortable with in that situation.
So I'm going to make a suggestion to everyone here. And Terry, we haven't rehearsed this, so I wonder what you think of this. At the Complete Combatant back in July in Georgia with Brian Hill and his team, we actually practiced 911 calls.
Great.
We had somebody role play kind of as the 911 operator. They had a script that they were supposed to read by, right? So it was a train script and a script that somebody had done. And 911, what's your emergency? And then to talk through, hey, I need some help. Here's an aside, by the way, just a little piece of advice, because when you say someone's been shot, they're going to take that as a gunfight. So if you're on the range and somebody is shot in a training accident, words matter. Call 911 and say, there's been a training accident. We need an ambulance. We've had a training accident in a training class, and this person has a gunshot wound. Once you say all those things, then the paramedics will arrive. If you just say it at a training accident, hey, someone's been shot, cops are going to have to be there first, and so it's going to delay a medical response. But if you're going to not hang up, and I get that ethic, I think that I really understand that one as well. Remember that you are amped up as all get out, and your goal is to shut up, because you're probably going to be so apt to say too much. You want to be in your mind, don't say. And so, man, get out to some force-on-force training and practice your 911 call.
Absolutely. It's the best advice. Like anything else, practice.
Yeah. Next time, we're going to talk about what to say and how to deal with responding police officers.